People who grew up in Generation Z developed their identities in a world where digital technology was fully embedded in daily life. Unlike previous generations who witnessed the rise of the internet gradually, Gen Z encountered smartphones, social media, and instant connectivity as normal aspects of childhood. This constant digital presence influenced how they perceive themselves, shaping identity as something fluid, adaptable, and continuously evolving. From an early age, Gen Z individuals learned to curate their self-image through online platforms. Profiles, posts, and visual storytelling became tools for self-expression, allowing experimentation with style, beliefs, and personality. This environment encouraged creativity and individuality, but it also introduced pressure to present an idealized version of the self, sometimes creating tension between authenticity and social approval. The digital environment strengthened visual and symbolic communication. Images, videos, and short messages became primary ways of expressing thoughts and emotions. As a result, many developed strong skills in interpreting visual cues and digital language, while sometimes feeling less confident with long-form verbal expression or face-to-face emotional conversations. Constant exposure to online feedback shaped self-awareness. Likes, shares, and comments provided immediate responses to personal expression, reinforcing the idea that identity is shaped through interaction. This feedback loop enhanced social sensitivity and adaptability, but also increased vulnerability to anxiety, comparison, and self-criticism. Gen Z grew up navigating multiple online spaces simultaneously. Switching between platforms, communities, and social roles became second nature. This ability to adapt enhanced cognitive flexibility, but it also contributed to fragmented attention and difficulty maintaining long-term focus in environments that lack stimulation. Privacy developed as a complex psychological concept. Many learned early that personal content could be permanent and widely visible. This awareness created a paradoxical relationship with sharing, combining openness with caution, and encouraging strategic self-disclosure rather than complete transparency. The digital environment also enabled global exposure. Gen Z individuals were regularly exposed to international cultures, opinions, and events, fostering a sense of global identity. This exposure increased cultural awareness and empathy, but sometimes led to emotional overload due to constant access to global crises. Online spaces provided opportunities for belonging. Communities formed around interests, identities, and shared experiences, offering validation and understanding. These spaces helped many explore identity safely, especially for those who felt marginalized in offline environments. However, constant connectivity reduced moments of psychological stillness. Silence and boredom became rare, making self-reflection more challenging. Many learned to regulate emotions through external stimulation rather than internal processing. Overall, identity construction in Generation Z is characterized by adaptability, creativity, and awareness, balanced by emotional pressure and self-monitoring. The digital environment shaped individuals who are highly responsive to change but often seek deeper grounding and stability. Emotional development in Generation Z took place in a world defined by instability, rapid change, and constant exposure to global events. From an early age, individuals were confronted with news about political conflict, economic uncertainty, climate anxiety, and public health crises, often without the emotional tools to fully process their impact. This continuous exposure shaped a psychological environment in which uncertainty became normalized, influencing how safety, stability, and the future are emotionally understood and internalized. One of the most defining characteristics of Generation Z is the normalization of mental health discourse. Conversations about anxiety, depression, trauma, identity struggles, and therapy became common in online spaces, reducing stigma and increasing emotional literacy. Many individuals developed an advanced ability to recognize, name, and analyze their emotional states, fostering self-awareness and openness that distinguish this generation from previous ones. Despite increased awareness, emotional pressure remains intense. Academic competition, financial insecurity, and social expectations create chronic stress and a persistent sense of inadequacy. Even those who meet external standards of success often experience internal doubt, feeling unprepared or overwhelmed by the demands placed upon them. This emotional tension reflects the gap between high expectations and uncertain outcomes. Social media intensified emotional comparison in subtle yet powerful ways. Constant exposure to idealized bodies, lifestyles, achievements, and relationships reinforced unrealistic standards of success and happiness. Over time, this environment contributed to fluctuating self-esteem, heightened anxiety, and increased vulnerability to self-criticism, particularly during adolescence and early adulthood. At the same time, Generation Z demonstrates a strong capacity for emotional empathy. Shared narratives of struggle, vulnerability, and mental health challenges fostered compassion and mutual understanding across online communities. Many individuals feel deeply connected to the emotions of others, even those they have never met, creating a sense of collective emotional experience that shapes their worldview. Emotional regulation developed under conditions of constant stimulation. Many learn to cope with stress and discomfort through distraction, humor, or digital engagement. While these strategies often provide immediate relief, they can limit deeper emotional processing and make sustained self-reflection more challenging, reinforcing cycles of avoidance and emotional fatigue. Burnout emerged at an early stage for many members of Generation Z. The normalization of productivity, personal branding, and constant availability blurred the boundaries between effort and rest. As a result, exhaustion often coexists with guilt, making it difficult to disengage without feeling unproductive or inadequate. Resilience in Generation Z is closely linked to adaptability rather than endurance alone. Exposure to rapid change encouraged flexible goals and evolving identities, allowing individuals to redefine success multiple times throughout their lives. Emotional security is often built through the ability to adjust expectations and embrace uncertainty rather than relying on fixed life trajectories. Periods of isolation played a significant role in emotional development. Reduced social interaction increased introspection and self-analysis, leading many to develop strong internal dialogues and creative coping strategies such as journaling, art, music, and digital expression. These practices became essential tools for emotional survival and growth. Overall, emotional development in Generation Z reflects a complex combination of vulnerability, awareness, and adaptive resilience. While mental health challenges are prevalent, so is a deep commitment to emotional honesty, self-understanding, and psychological growth, redefining strength as openness rather than suppression. The social values of Generation Z were shaped in a world marked by diversity, global connectivity, and constant access to information. Early exposure to multiple cultures, identities, and perspectives encouraged critical thinking and challenged traditional social norms. As a result, values such as inclusion, equality, and representation play a central role in how this generation understands society and its place within it. Relationships are often formed and maintained through digital communication, which allows constant connection across distance and time. Messaging apps and social platforms facilitate frequent interaction, expanding social networks and enabling new forms of connection. However, this accessibility can also reduce emotional depth, making some relationships feel transient or fragmented. Friendships within Generation Z tend to emphasize emotional safety and shared values. Many individuals prioritize relationships that allow vulnerability, validation, and mutual understanding. At the same time, fear of conflict or emotional exposure can limit honest confrontation, sometimes preventing deeper long-term bonds from fully developing. Romantic relationships are strongly influenced by digital culture. Dating apps and online interaction shape expectations around communication, availability, and commitment. Emotional closeness often develops alongside caution, as individuals balance the desire for intimacy with the need for emotional self-protection in an uncertain social environment. Trust is constructed carefully and gradually. Exposure to misinformation, online performativity, and social manipulation encourages skepticism and analytical thinking. Consistency, transparency, and emotional reliability are highly valued, yet trust may take longer to establish due to fear of disappointment or betrayal. Authority and institutions are frequently questioned by Generation Z. Political instability, economic inequality, and media saturation contribute to distrust in traditional systems and narratives. This skepticism fuels activism, social engagement, and independent research, but it can also lead to emotional fatigue and cynicism when change feels slow or ineffective. Work and success are psychologically redefined within this generation. Rather than prioritizing long-term stability alone, many seek purpose, flexibility, and alignment with personal values. Mental health, autonomy, and meaningful contribution are considered essential components of professional fulfillment. Community is no longer limited to physical spaces. Online movements, identity-based groups, and shared causes provide belonging and emotional support. These communities offer validation and collective identity, but they can also reinforce ideological divisions and create echo chambers that limit open dialogue. Authenticity is a core social value for Generation Z. Rigid roles and fixed identities are often rejected in favor of self-exploration and personal evolution. However, the pressure to remain authentic at all times can itself become a source of stress, as identity is constantly evaluated and expressed. In summary, the worldview of Generation Z is empathetic, adaptive, and socially conscious. Relationships, values, and goals are shaped by connectivity, uncertainty, and ethical awareness, producing individuals who seek meaning, balance, and positive impact in an increasingly complex world.